Hello everyone. In this live video, we're going to be talking about your victory over the narcissist. Because many of you may not realize this, but in many ways you've actually already defeated the narcissist. You've already won. Because you got to think about it like this. Narcissists do everything they possibly can to conceal themselves so that you don't see who they really are. They try to hide that from you. But then you being you just being the healthy, happy person that you are, you just progressing in your life, succeeding, just doing well for yourself, you just doing that, it exposes everything that they really are. And then that's when you begin to see the real them that they try to hide from you. Because this is why they wear a mask. This is why they have a false character. Because they don't want you to know. They don't want you to see that. They don't want you to be aware of who and what you're actually dealing with. Their false image is very important to them. But it gets to it's like you're doing pretty good. And then they just want to rip off their mask and show you who they are. They want you to know exactly what you're dealing with. And then that's when they do everything they begin to realize who and what you're actually dealing with. Who and what you're actually dealing with. Very, very difficult for them to manipulate and control. So then they have to do things to sabotage you. And by them doing that, you then see beneath the veil. You then begin to see what they really are. And that is your victory. That means that you have won. Because the whole purpose of what they do is to try and prove to you that there's something that they're not. They're always trying to prove to you that they're a good person, that there's nothing wrong with them, that they mean well for you, that they have your best interest in mind. That's the name of the game with these narcissists. That's the whole purpose of why they do what they do. It's all just to make you think that they're a good person, but then they slip up. Their mask slips, and then you get a chance to see what they're really like. Just by you doing you. Just by you being on your grind, being on your purpose. Just by you being happy. And by you being difficult to control. And then the mask slips. You get a chance to see what you're actually dealing with. And not a lot of people get to see that. I mean, yes, there are a lot of people around the world who have seen a narcissist mask slip. But with this particular narcissist that you're dealing with outside of yourself, how many other people do you know have seen them rage? They can be very persuasive and convincing. They're master manipulators because they've been doing this their entire lives. It's what they had to do in order for them to survive, in order for them to get the result that they wanted. So they're masters at that. They know exactly what they have to do to create this mask, this facade, to make people believe that they're something that they're not, to make people believe that they have integrity, that they're honest, upstanding people. But they can only do that for a certain amount of time with you, because after a certain amount of time their mask began to slip. They just couldn't hold it in around you because they're so envious and jealous. And all of the good things you were doing, all of the good things you had going for yourself in your life, it made them so mad. And then they had to sabotage you, they had to betray you. You got a chance to see underneath the mask. And that is your victory. That means that you have won. Because as long as you're under their spell, they feel like they have an advantage over you, they feel like they're in a position of control, they feel like they're winning. As far as they're concerned, that's all that they really need, is just to make you believe in the mask. But when you no longer believe in it, you've won. You have defeated the narcissist. Because now, you're no longer under their spell. You're no longer under their brainwashing, their indoctrination. You no longer believe the lies of everything that they want you to believe about themselves. And instead now you have discernment. Now you're thinking for yourself. You've got a free mind to where you can dissect the situation independently instead of being under the influence and control of another person. Now you can use your own mind, you can think for yourself. So you're outside of their control. You're no longer trapped in their web of lies and deceit. Now that is the first step to getting out of it all, to waking up, to becoming free. Because before that you're trapped. You're just going along with it, with whatever they're feeding back to you. And then they're just this master puppeteer, and you're like their puppet, they're pulling the strings on you. And they can just get you to think whatever they want you to think about them. They can do things to you, and then they can reel you back in, manipulate your perceptions of them. But then when you begin to wake up, when you begin to see what's really happening, what they're really doing, you've woken up and you have won. You are victorious. And they feel that you are victorious because they then feel a sense of loss. Because they've lost their grip on your mind. Your mind is no longer under their control. Because you have raised your consciousness, you've raised your awareness. You're now more awake and aware. You're now more perceptive of the narcissist, of the people in the world around you. 92 live viewers, if you're finding this message helpful so far, please give me a thumbs up down below, thank you. But yeah, you are waking up. You're beginning to see beneath the veil. And Although it doesn't feel like it at the time because they've done all these things to you. And I get that, I understand it. Of course, they've hurt and betrayed you. You've won, you feel like you've lost. Because let's be real, you have lost a lot. You may have lost your health, your money and resources. You lost your happiness, you lost everything that you once were. But also, what you did lose before was your ability to discern, your ability to think for yourself. You weren't able to do that before. And that's how they kept you under their spell for such a long time. But now you're beginning to wake up. You've regained your ability to discern, to see what it is that you're actually dealing with and what they're actually trying to do to you. So that's a victory for you. That means that you have won because now you're beginning to see who they really are. You're seeing beneath the veil. You're seeing underneath the mask. And I can tell you that many people have gone their entire lives without seeing the narcissist for what they are. Or for many people, it takes years, maybe decades. And they waste their entire lives not knowing what it is they're actually dealing with. Just think about that. Living an entire life that was a lie, that was all fake. And I know what that's like. Being brought up with a narcissistic family, being blamed for everything, thinking it was all my fault. Of course, I look back before I found out about narcissistic abuse at the age of 29. I look back on my life before that, and it's like the entire thing was all fake. It was all a lie. I was being brainwashed, I was being programmed. And that's exactly what it's like when we look back at these narcissistic relationships as well. We were being indoctrinated. None of it was real. And while we may have lost a lot in that relationship, at least now we are awake, we are aware. We're beginning to figure it out. And that is a victory for us. And it's a defeat for the narcissist, and they do feel a sense of loss. Because now they no longer have that sense of control over you. They can no longer manipulate your emotions in the way that they once did. They used to have you under a spell, to where when they said jump, you would say how high, to where you were at their beck and call. You were running endlessly on this hamster wheel, doing anything you could to please them, to please this unpleasable person who could never be satisfied. And now you're beginning to wake up and you're not doing that anymore. Because you're realizing that this person is a fake, a phony, a liar, a manipulator. And they were deceiving you the entire time. You're beginning to realize that. And that is the first step towards your healing. The first step is that acceptance. That radical acceptance. You've got to accept who they are, what you've been dealing with. Of course, they don't want you to be consciously thinking about that all of the time. I mean, sometimes they may weaponize it against you. They may use it to hurt you, and then it gives them a source of power to where they feel like they've got you, they've hurt you. But most of the time, they want you to be under a spell. They want you to be looking at them like they're good people, there's nothing wrong with them, as though they're on your side, as though you need them. But when it's like every time you see them, every time you talk to them, you know who and what they are. They do not like that. It brings up their shame. It makes them feel really bad about themselves. And then they have to deflect that onto you in some way. They're very anxious, they're very restless, they just cannot deal with their own emotions. They gotta put that onto you, they gotta deflect it. And when they deflect, that's how you know that you have won. Because you've woken up and you're making them have to look at themselves. And they just can't deal with that. It's like you're reflecting them back to them. And they just do not want to see it. They're just like, no, just get that away from me. I do not want to see a reflection of them, of myself. They're thinking, I do not want to think about the horrific things that I've done. Not unless they can use it as a source of power to hurt you and then get their narcissistic supply. Otherwise, they don't want to know, they don't want to think about it. Because then it can harm them. Unless, of course, they are a psychopath. Because psychopaths, that's a bit different. It can be very difficult to get a psychopath rather to reflect on their shame even for a moment. They're not going to be feeling bad about themselves. They're not going to care. They've got no remorse, no moral compass whatsoever. Many narcissists don't as well. But either way, whether it's a narcissist or a psychopath, they do not like it when you've woken up. They do not like it when you can see through them, when you can see beneath the veil, when you can see who and what they actually are, who and what you're actually dealing with. They do not like that. And that is your victory. That means that you have won. Now I'm going to look at the live chat. Let's see what people are saying about this message today. This message is really just meant to motivate you and make you feel better about what has happened and about what you've lost. Because yes, you may have lost a lot, but the truth is that you have won. You are victorious. Because you have woken up, you are no longer under a spell. And that is a big deal. When you're no longer under that programming, now things can change, things can get better for you. Now you can choose your own path, you can live your own life. You couldn't do that before because you thought it was you. You accepted the blame. And you were under their spell. So yeah, if you have any questions, let me know in the live chat down below. I've got some time to respond to a few questions. Yeah, they really hate it when you have this information. When you develop this awareness of who they actually are. They do not like that. Of course, yes, they want you to remain under a spell. These victims who are in relationships with narcissists for several decades, they're under a spell the entire time. And some of them may not realize it, but they are. And that's how they still stay. Because otherwise they wouldn't be there. It's because they're being programmed, they're being indoctrinated. And that is what's keeping them stuck. To where they're this narcissist pet, this narcissist slave. Michelle Samantha says, I saw a pattern and decided to make it again. Yes, they do have their patterns of behavior, and they also induce patterns of behavior in us as well, which of course we must become aware of. I mean, that's how they get you going back and forth between the love bombing and the devaluation, and sometimes the discard and the hoovering. Old Vic says, are the narcs conscious of their shame? Most narcissists are not self-aware, which means that they're not aware of their emotions. They're disconnected from their emotions. They're not really even aware when they're angry or when they're feeling shame. And that's how they deflect it onto someone else. Yes, there may be a small window of self-reflection. It lasts for like a split second. And then immediately they deflect it. They can't deal with it. But also, victims can feel like that as well. It's like where they've trained you to be so zoned in on them. Like you're so zoned in on their every want, their every need, perhaps their every micro-expression as well, their every response. And it's like you're just trying to tailor-make yourself to be at the whim of their every want and need, to where you've become like their slave. You become that much attuned to them. And this is the pattern of behavior of a victim that the victim needs to break out of. And it's from being manipulated, entrained over such a long period of time, to where it's like you exist for the narcissist. You're like their robot, and they're just pushing your buttons, making you respond the way that they want, because they view you as an extension of themselves. You're like their life support machine. You help them to make them feel alive, when otherwise they feel completely dead. And that's how they're so negative. All they can ever really do in any situation is just pick at you and just take bits and pieces away, and then just dump their emotional garbage onto you, to where you become like an emotional trash can. And then that's how you know exactly what you're dealing with. This is what every narcissist is like. Just remember that they are not to be trusted, they're not credible. And also, anyone who they try to discredit, that's who you need to be listening to. Because otherwise they wouldn't be discrediting them. They wouldn't be trying to turn you against them. They try to do that because they know it's actually in your best interest. Crystal N says they can't handle any honesty at all. It's amazing. It really is. They cannot deal with any honesty, any truth. Their entire life is a lie. They've been gaslighting themselves from the very beginning, and that's why when you're around them, they have to manipulate and gaslight you. And your entire life around them is fake. It's all a lie. It may have felt real to you, but remember, you were around to manipulate it. You were around someone who was gaslighting themselves. But yeah, that's the message for today. And I hope that it's brought you some encouragement to keep moving forward, keep healing. Small victories every day. And saying that, I mean, this one isn't really a little victory at all. This is quite a big victory when you begin to wake up and you realize what you're actually dealing with a narcissist. You're no longer under their spell. But with healing in general, it's best to have just those little wins, those small victories every day. Because over time, it then grows to become a huge victory for you. There's no need for us to overwhelm ourselves. I mean, we experience enough anxiety as it is. Take things slowly, little wins every day. Set small goals for yourself. And together we will heal, we will spread the awareness of this disorder, to wake people up, to protect them. And if you would like to support me in doing that, you can give this video a thumbs up down below. I really appreciate it. Hit subscribe, click on notifications to be notified when I go live in the future. You can also show your support by donating. I appreciate all donations, no matter how small. My PayPal is paypal.me/Narc Survivor. If you'd like to book a one-on-one with me, just head to my website. It is narcsurvivor.co.uk. Let me know your thoughts about this video down in the comment section. I read your comments every day. And also, you can follow me on Instagram. It is Narc Survivor YouTube. Thank you all for joining me on another Narc Survivor live video. I appreciate you all, and I look forward to speaking with you in another live video very soon.